The Panini Formula One model car collection is now in Australia. This has been running overseas for a few months, but a whole bunch of television advertising here at the moment, getting you to go down to your local newsagent and pick up the first issue and the first model, an Ayrton Senna McLaren, for just $4.99. Now, I wasn't going to go and get this because I've already got this model, and I think pretty much all the other models that are going to come out in this series already in Mini Champs and Spark and the like. But for $4.99, even if this model was absolute garbage, I mean, that's the price of a coffee these days, so it's not a big issue. And the model's not absolute crap either, I must admit, so we'll have a look at that in a bit more detail shortly. As I said, there's 60 models planned for this series. I know what the first 25 are, and I've got those in the description for this video. But when I find out what the others are, I'll put the complete list up on the website, wixie500.com. Now, what do you get? Well, for $4.99 you get quite a bit for this one. You obviously get the model, but you also get the magazine, which comes with each issue. This is coming out every fortnight. A whole bunch of these will go through the newsagents, but if it's like other offers, the newsagents will stop carrying them after the first, 20 issues, I guess, and you'll have to be a subscriber to continue. But anyway, the magazine, it's got information that pertains to the model and the driver, a bit of Senna and McLaren stuff in here. It's pretty light reading. It's nothing of any great detail, and people who are fans of Formula One probably know all of this stuff anyway, but it's a good overall publication, just sort of lightly brushing over some of the key things, an advanced bit on Silverstone and history of Formula One and that sort of stuff. What else have we got here? Bit of a promotion of what's coming up in the series. For example, we've got the Senna car is this first issue, and then second issue will be Lauda Ferrari, and then Mansell Williams, which looks horrid compared to rival manufacturers. Lewis Hamilton Mercedes, and a Fittipaldi Lotus, and it'll continue on from there. Now, if you subscribe, the second model I think is going in the newsagents for about $12, and then all of the subsequent ones will be $19.99, but it will actually cost you $21 per model to subscribe to this because there's a $1 postage and handling charge. So just keep that in mind. But having said that, to get a collection of 60 models for what's at about $1,200, that's actually pretty good, although the models are going to be a bit iffy in some cases. Anyway, if you subscribe, you are also going to get some gifts. There's some DVDs and bits and pieces that will come out with various issues. There's also a few cars here, for example, the one-off 911 paint scheme that Ferrari ran at Monza to commemorate the 9/11 attacks. Six-wheel Tyrrell from 1976. Another one-off car was the Brabham fan car. So they came out with various different issues through the series. There's also these transporters down here. If you pay an extra $3 per issue through the series, you get these. Now, that works out to about $180, so these are quite expensive. And they're not the 43rd scale, they're only 1/64th scale, so they're only small. Some people like them, I'm not a big fan of them, but your choice, you can get them if you want. So here it is, out of the pack, the 1988 McLaren MP4 for Honda of Ayrton Senna. Just before I talk about the model, just with the backing cardboard, I've just cut it out of the blister pack there, but on the back here there's a bunch of other models, and there's some photographs of them here. I'll try and get that in focus. I'm using an old iPhone 4 here, so she's an old buggy. Apologies if it's not picking this up too clearly. Yeah, these cars, shape and everything doesn't look too bad. Some of the finer detail is a bit clunky, but I think they're quite good models for the cheap price that they're effectively coming out at. They don't have all of the detail. They don't have the tobacco decals, for example, but they can be purchased aftermarket. And I've read on the internet that some of the models don't actually have other identification on them as well, as in it's not just the tobacco advertising missing, but I'm not sure of that. I haven't seen it myself. Second model that's coming out is Lauda's Ferrari from 1977. These have got the English pricing on the back here, but anyway, apparently that's going to be $12, and then up to $19.95 or $19.99 for the third and subsequent parts. Hamilton's 2014 World Championship car, for example, is number 3. So, to the model itself, firstly it's in a clear top display case. The plinth is on an angle, and that's actually a pretty good thing because, I'll just get this top off, when models such as Mini Champs and Spark are displayed in this display cabinet, when you're looking at the shelf, you're looking at them sort of like this. Well, when this is on an angle, you're looking at it like that. You can see more of the car, and I think that's a great thing. I don't particularly mind the curbing and so on they've put on there, but I can understand a lot of people think that's quite tacky. But the bit of an angle on the plinth, I reckon, is pretty good. Also, the fact that it's grey means the car doesn't get lost so much on the background, especially if it was a black car. So that's something that Mini Champs and Spark might want to consider too. Dark grey backgrounds or mid-grey backgrounds, not a bad thing. So this is the 1988 winner. Now, this is a great choice for a first model in the series because of a few things. Firstly, it's a Senna car, and that's always going to sell. Secondly, it's a World Championship winner, so that ticks another box. And thirdly, the cars of the sort of mid to late 80s were fairly basic with regard to their shape, and that means that Panini, or whoever Panini contract to build these models, have been able to reproduce this car and make it look pretty good without having to do much work on fancy detail. I think probably one of the standout bits of detail on this is they've actually got the end fences on the front wings pretty thin. Normally on cars of this price they're big, thick, chunky looking things, a little bit more like the back wing, but anyway. Paint generally pretty good, decals are okay. As I'll keep saying, you can't compare this to a Spark or Mini Champs, it's just not in the same ballpark. But it does look, reasonably good, sitting at a bit of a distance. If anyone's familiar with the Onyx Formula One cars from the late 80s, I would say this is certainly a step up on that, and probably around the quality of some of the Hot Wheels stuff that's been on and off for the last few years. But what it does have, which is a bit of a downfall, is solid, big fat solid metal axles running through the front of the car. Now, in this particular model, it's not quite as noticeable because of all of the black down the sides of the monocoque, so the lack of suspension detail, there's no push rods or pull rods or anything in this, isn't really noticeable. But on some of the other models that are coming in the series, some of the detail is really chunky and quite lacking, so as I said, you can't compare them to some of the other models in the marketplace. But overall shape and proportions and everything look pretty good. I think they've done a reasonable job on that. Obviously no tobacco markings, but you could get those aftermarket to spruce this up. Wheel detail doesn't look too bad, although we're a little bit wonky from what I saw earlier on this on the rear wheel, so a bit of a bumpy ride if you're going to drive this around. Got seat belts, but the cockpit detail, while there is some detail in there, it's pretty low. Got a few aerials and things like that on here. On the back we've got a bit of a diffuser, the jacking latch and things like that on the rear. So overall it's not a bad model, particularly for $4.99. I mean, it's hard to beat really for $4.99. But when the rest of the series come in and you subscribe to this at $21 for some of these models, then you'd have to sort of start questioning it. But having said that, that's far, far cheaper than what you're going to get Spark and Mini Champs for. So horses for courses, I guess. So, if you like this review, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.